Hidden power revealed. In the heart of Earth's secure space dock, the U.S. Blackstar lay cloaked under layers of secrecy and advanced camouflage. For years, this massive supercarrier had been Earth's ultimate hidden asset, waiting for the right moment to emerge. Captain William Jones, a seasoned officer with a reputation for bravery and tactical brilliance, stood before his crew in the ship's cavernous briefing room. The dim lighting highlighted the tension in the room, and the hum of the ship's engines was a constant reminder of the impending conflict. As the crew gathered, a palpable sense of urgency filled the air. William's voice cut through the murmurs, steady and commanding. "We've received reports of escalating attacks by the Iridian Empire. Their relentless campaign of terror has reached new heights, and the time has come for us to act. The U.S. Blackstar, our secret weapon, is now ready to take its place on the galactic stage." The crew's faces reflected a mixture of determination and apprehension. They knew the Blackstar's capabilities were unmatched, but they also understood the gravity of the situation. The Iridian Empire, led by the ruthless Emperor Varys, had been conquering planet after planet, leaving devastation in their wake. The reports of their cruelty were not just rumors. They were atrocities committed against innocent civilizations. William's briefing was interrupted by a holographic display, showcasing the Blackstar's advanced features. "This vessel is equipped with the latest in human technology," he continued. "Our weapons systems are state-of-the-art, and our defensive capabilities are designed to withstand even the most formidable attacks. We are not just fighting for survival, we are fighting to protect every sentient being from the Iridian's tyranny." The room fell silent as the crew absorbed the weight of their mission. They were not just a crew of a powerful ship, they were humanity's last hope against an overwhelming threat. William's gaze swept across the room, meeting the eyes of each crew member. "We have trained for this. We have prepared for this. Now it's time to show the galaxy what humanity is capable of. We will not stand by while the Iridians continue their reign of terror." As the briefing concluded, the crew began their final preparations. The hangar bay buzzed with activity as pilots completed their pre-flight checks and ground crew worked tirelessly to ensure every system was ready. The Blackstar was a fortress of steel and technology, but it was the human spirit within that would determine its success. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, Emperor Varys lounged on his golden throne, a sinister smile playing on his lips as he surveyed his empire. His command room was filled with his most trusted advisors, each of them silent and attentive. Varys relished in his power, taking pleasure in the suffering he inflicted upon those who dared to resist. One of his commanders, a stern figure named General Draven, reported on the latest conquests. "My lord, our forces have crushed the resistance on the planet Elara. The subjugation is complete, and we are now extracting resources as planned." Varys' eyes gleamed with malevolent satisfaction. "Excellent. The more resources we gather, the stronger our empire will become. Soon, nothing will stand in our way. However, there are troubling reports of a new human vessel appearing on the fringes of our territory. It's called the U.S. Blackstar." The mention of the Blackstar drew the interest of Varys' inner circle. The Emperor's eyes narrowed, a flicker of unease crossing his otherwise confident demeanor. A human vessel of that size? It must be a mistake. As the Blackstar hurtled through space, Will's thoughts drifted to the Iridian Empire. Emperor Varys had built his reign on fear and brutality, crushing any opposition with an iron fist. But the Blackstar was a symbol of humanity's resilience, a testament to their refusal to be cowed by tyranny. "Captain," Zara's voice broke through his reverie. "We're approaching the target coordinates." Will straightened in his chair, his eyes narrowing. "Drop us out of FTL and bring up the tactical display." The ship shuddered slightly as it exited faster than light travel, the stars settling back into their familiar pinpricks of light. On the view screen, a massive Iridian fleet came into view, their warships bristling with weaponry. "Enemy fleet detected," Zara reported. "They're in a defensive formation, but they haven't noticed us yet." Will studied the display, his mind racing. The Iridians were formidable, but they hadn't encountered anything like the Blackstar before. This was their chance to strike a decisive blow. "Bring us in closer," Will ordered. "I want them to see us before we open fire." The Blackstar glided silently through the void, its dark hull almost invisible against the backdrop of space. As they closed the distance, the enemy fleet began to stir, realizing too late that they were not alone. "Captain, they've spotted us," Zara said, her voice tinged with anticipation. "They're powering up their weapons." "Perfect," Will replied, a grim smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Activate the Blackstar's primary weapon systems. Let's show them what we're made of." A low hum filled the bridge as the ship's massive energy cannons charged, their power building to a crescendo. The enemy ships began to maneuver, attempting to form a defensive line, but they were already too late. "Fire," Will commanded, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. The Blackstar's cannons roared to life, unleashing a torrent of energy that tore through the enemy fleet. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light, their debris scattering into the void. The Iridians had never faced such overwhelming firepower, and their formation crumbled under the onslaught. As the last of the enemy ships disintegrated, the bridge erupted into cheers. Will allowed himself a moment of satisfaction, but he knew the battle was far from over. This was only the beginning. "Good work, everyone," he said, his voice steady. "But don't get complacent. The Iridians won't take this defeat lightly. We need to stay sharp." The crew nodded, their expressions serious once more. They had won the first round, but the war was just beginning. Will turned his attention back to the view screen, his thoughts already racing ahead. The Blackstar had proven its worth, but there were still many challenges ahead. Emperor Varys would not rest until he had crushed this new threat to his empire. But Will was ready. The Blackstar was more than just a weapon. It was a symbol of hope, a beacon for all those who had suffered under the Iridians' tyranny. And as long as it flew, there was a chance for victory. "Set a course for the next target," Will ordered, his voice filled with determination. "We're not done yet." The Iridian retaliation. The news of the Blackstar's devastating assault on the Iridian fleet spread like wildfire across the galaxy. On the Iridian homeworld, Emperor Varys seethed with rage as he listened to the reports of his fleet's destruction. The humans had dared to challenge his authority, and they had succeeded in striking a blow that would not be easily forgotten. In the grand throne room of the Iridian palace, Varys paced back and forth, his golden eyes burning with fury. His most trusted advisors and military commanders stood before him, their faces betraying no emotion as they awaited his orders. The humans, Varys spat, his voice dripping with venom. "They have unleashed a weapon unlike anything we've ever seen. The Blackstar must be destroyed before it can disrupt our plans any further." One of the commanders stepped forward, his head bowed in deference. "My lord, our intelligence suggests that the Blackstar is equipped with advanced technology far beyond our own. We will need to mobilize our entire fleet if we are to stand a chance." Varys stopped pacing and turned to face the commander, his expression dark. "Then mobilize the fleet. I want every ship we have hunting down that accursed vessel, and when you find it, I want it reduced to ashes." The commander saluted and quickly exited the throne room to carry out his orders. Varys watched him go, his mind racing with thoughts of vengeance. He had underestimated the humans, but he would not make that mistake again. They had shown their hand, and now it was time for the Iridians to strike back with all the fury they could muster. As the doors to the throne room closed behind the commander, Varys turned to his remaining advisors. "Prepare the Shadow Guard," he ordered, his voice low and menacing. "They are to track the Blackstar's every move. I want to know where it is at all times." The advisors nodded, their faces grim. The Shadow Guard was the Iridian Empire's most elite and secretive force, tasked with carrying out the Emperor's will without question. If anyone could track down the Blackstar, it was them. Varys clenched his fists, his anger barely contained. The humans had dared to challenge his rule, and they would pay the price. He would stop at nothing to see the Blackstar destroyed and its crew annihilated. And once the threat was eliminated, he would turn his full attention to subjugating the rest of the galaxy. But as Varys brooded over his plans for revenge, a nagging doubt began to creep into his mind. The humans had revealed their hidden strength, but what else were they hiding? What other secrets lay buried beneath the surface, waiting to be unleashed? Shaking off the thought, Varys returned to his throne and sat down, his expression hardening. It didn't matter. Whatever tricks the humans had up their sleeves, he would crush them all. The galaxy would tremble before the might of the Iridian Empire once more. As the Emperor plotted his next move, the Blackstar continued its journey through the stars. Captain William Jones stood on the bridge, his gaze fixed on the view screen as the ship hurtled through space. The destruction of the Iridian fleet had been a significant victory, but he knew it was only a matter of time before Varys retaliated. "Captain, we're picking up a distress signal," Zara reported, her fingers dancing across the console. "It's coming from a nearby planet in the Andorian system." "Put it on screen," Will ordered. The view screen flickered, then displayed a shaky video feed of a beleaguered Andorian outpost under heavy attack. Iridian warships filled the sky, raining down destruction on the defenseless colony. Civilians scrambled for cover as explosions rocked the ground, their faces etched with terror. Will's jaw tightened as he watched the scene unfold. The Iridians were taking out their frustration on the weak and vulnerable, a tactic as cowardly as it was brutal. "We can't just sit here and watch," Zara said, her voice filled with urgency. "We have to help them." "I agree," Will replied, his voice resolute. "But we need to be smart about this. The Iridians will be expecting us. They'll be looking for any opportunity to take the Blackstar down." He studied the tactical display, his mind racing as he considered their options. The Blackstar had the firepower to take on the Iridian fleet, but they couldn't afford to be reckless. A single misstep could spell disaster for both the ship and the Andorian colony. "Prepare for a surgical strike," Will ordered. "We'll hit their command ship first and take out their leadership. Once they're in disarray, we'll move in to defend the colony." Zara nodded and relayed the orders to the crew. The Blackstar's engines roared as the ship altered its course, speeding toward the Andorian system. As they neared the planet, the tactical display lit up with enemy signatures. The Iridian fleet was larger than anticipated, with multiple warships forming a blockade around the planet. But Will's eyes were fixed on one ship in particular, the massive Iridian command vessel at the heart of the fleet. "That's our target," he said, pointing to the screen. "All weapons on the command ship. We take it out, and the rest of the fleet will be in disarray." The crew sprang into action, and the Blackstar's cannons began to charge. Will watched as the command ship grew larger on the view screen, its weapons bristling with deadly energy. "Fire," Will ordered. The Blackstar unleashed a devastating barrage of energy, the beams slicing through the void and slamming into the Iridian command ship. The enemy vessel shuddered under the impact, its shields flickering as they struggled to hold. "Target their engines," Will commanded. "We need to disable that ship before it can retaliate." Another volley of energy blasts tore through the command ship's engines, sending it careening off course. The rest of the Iridian fleet hesitated, momentarily thrown into confusion by the sudden loss of their leader. "Now's our chance," Will said, his voice filled with determination. "Engage the fleet and protect the colony. We can't let them harm any more civilians." The Blackstar charged into the fray, its cannons blazing as it took on the Iridian warships. Explosions erupted across the battlefield as enemy vessels were torn apart by the Blackstar's overwhelming firepower. As the battle raged on, the tide began to turn in favor of the Blackstar. One by one, the Iridian ships fell, their remains scattered across the void. The outmatched fleet was no match for the Blackstar's superior technology and tactics. Finally, the last of the enemy ships was destroyed, and the Blackstar stood victorious once more. The Andorian colony was safe, and the Iridian fleet had been decimated. But Will knew that this victory was just another step in a long and grueling war. The Iridians would not give up easily, and the Blackstar would continue to be a target for their vengeance. "Captain, the colony is sending a message of thanks," Zara reported, a note of relief in her voice. "They say they wouldn't have survived without our help." Will allowed himself a small smile. "Tell them it was our honor to assist, but we need to stay vigilant. The Iridians will be back, and we need to be ready." The crew nodded in agreement, their faces resolute. They had won another battle, but the war was far from over. As the Blackstar continued its journey through the stars, Captain William Jones knew that the real challenge was still ahead. The Iridian Empire was vast and powerful, and the fight for the galaxy's freedom would be long and arduous. But with the Blackstar at the helm, humanity had a fighting chance, and Will was determined to see it through to the end, no matter the cost. Allies in the shadows, the Blackstar's victory over the Iridian fleet had sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. On distant worlds, news of the battle spread like wildfire, igniting hope in the hearts of those who had long suffered under the tyranny of the Iridian Empire. But as the Blackstar continued its journey through the stars, Captain William Jones knew that they could not win this war alone. "We need allies," Will said, addressing his senior officers in the briefing room. The tension in the air was palpable, the weight of their mission heavy on everyone's shoulders. The Iridians control vast territories, and their forces outnumber ours by a significant margin. We can't take them on by ourselves. Lieutenant Zara nodded in agreement, her sharp eyes scanning the holographic map of the galaxy displayed before them. "There are several factions that have resisted the Iridians in the past. If we can convince them to join forces with us, we might have a chance to turn the tide. But reaching out to them won't be easy," Commander Ivan, the ship's tactical officer, added. "Many of these factions are scattered and distrustful. They've been fighting for survival for so long that they may not see the Blackstar as the beacon of hope that we want it to be." Will leaned back in his chair, deep in thought. He knew Ivan was right. The galaxy was a dangerous and divided place, and forging alliances would require more than just a show of strength. It would require diplomacy, trust, and a shared vision for the future. "There's one faction we should reach out to first," Will said, his voice steady. "The Rylorian Republic. They've been at odds with the Iridians for years, and they've managed to hold their own despite being outnumbered. If we can get them on our side, it could make all the difference." The officers exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of uncertainty and determination. The Rylorians were known for their fierce independence and their reluctance to ally with outsiders. Convincing them to join forces with the Blackstar would be a formidable challenge. "I'll lead the negotiations personally," Will continued. "We'll need to show them that we're serious about taking down the Iridians and that we're willing to fight alongside them as equals." Zara nodded, her expression resolute. "We'll need to tread carefully, Captain. The Rylorians value honor and strength, but they won't be swayed by force alone. We'll need to earn their trust." Will stood up, signaling the end of the briefing. "Prepare the Blackstar for a diplomatic mission. We'll set a course for Rylor Prime immediately, and make sure our defenses are on high alert. The Iridians won't sit idly by while we try to build alliances." As the officers dispersed to carry out their orders, Will remained in the briefing room, his mind racing with thoughts of the challenges ahead. The Rylorians were just the first step in a long and difficult journey. To defeat the Iridians, they would need to unite the galaxy, forging alliances that had never existed before. As the Blackstar made its way toward Rylor Prime, the crew prepared for what would undoubtedly be a tense and delicate negotiation. The Rylorian Republic was a proud and ancient civilization, with a long history of resisting outside influence. They had managed to survive the Iridian onslaught through sheer determination and skill, but their resources were stretched thin, and their forces were weary. When the Blackstar arrived in orbit around Rylor Prime, they were greeted by a formidable display of power. The Rylorian fleet, though smaller than the Iridian Armada, was composed of sleek, advanced ships, each one bristling with weaponry. It was clear that the Rylorians were ready for a fight, even if it meant their own destruction. "Captain, we're being hailed by the Rylorian flagship," Zara reported, her voice tense. "Put them through," Will ordered, standing tall as he prepared to address the Rylorian leader. The view screen flickered to life, revealing the stern visage of General Kolar, the leader of the Rylorian military. His eyes were sharp and calculating, his expression one of guarded suspicion. "Captain Jones of the Blackstar," Kolar said, his voice carrying the weight of authority. "You have entered Rylorian space without prior consent. State your intentions." Will met the general's gaze, his own expression calm and resolute. "General Kolar, we come in peace. The Blackstar has no quarrel with the Rylorian Republic. In fact, we seek your help in a common cause, the defeat of the Iridian Empire." Kolar's eyes narrowed slightly, his suspicion evident. "You speak of a dangerous alliance, Captain. The Iridians have crushed many who have dared to stand against them. Why should we believe that your ship, no matter how powerful, will be any different?" "Because the Blackstar is not just a ship," Will replied, his voice steady. "It's a symbol of humanity's determination to fight for freedom and justice. We've already struck a significant blow against the Iridian fleet, and we intend to keep fighting until the galaxy is free from their tyranny. But we can't do it alone. We need allies who are willing to stand with us, to fight for a better future." Kolar studied Will for a long moment, his expression unreadable. The silence stretched on, thick with tension, as the two leaders sized each other up. Finally, Kolar spoke, his voice measured. "Your words are bold, Captain Jones, but words alone will not win this war. The Rylorian Republic has fought for its survival for centuries, and we will not be swayed by empty promises. If you truly seek our alliance, you will need to prove your worth." Will nodded, his expression determined. "We're prepared to do whatever it takes, General. Name your terms, and we'll meet them." Kolar's gaze hardened, his eyes glinting with the steel of a battle-hardened leader. "Very well, Captain. There is a task that only the Blackstar can accomplish. If you succeed, the Rylorian Republic will consider an alliance. But be warned, failure is not an option." Will straightened, his resolve unwavering. "We accept your challenge, General. The Blackstar will not fail." The view screen went dark, and the bridge was filled with a tense silence. The crew exchanged anxious glances, knowing that the fate of their mission, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. "Prepare the ship," Will ordered, his voice steady. "We have a mission to complete." As the Blackstar made its final preparations, Will couldn't help but feel the weight of responsibility bearing down on him. The path ahead was fraught with danger, but he knew that they couldn't afford to hesitate. The future of the galaxy depended on their success, and there was no turning back now. The Blackstar sped through the void, its engines humming with a low, steady power. Captain William Jones stood on the bridge, staring out into the darkness of space, his mind focused on the challenge that lay ahead. General Kolar's task remained a mystery, and the Rylorians had given them no further information about what they were expected to do. "Captain, we're approaching the coordinates provided by the Rylorians," Lieutenant Zara reported, her voice breaking the silence. The crew's tension was palpable, each member bracing for what might come next. "Bring us out of warp," Will ordered. "Let's see what we're dealing with." The stars around the Blackstar seemed to stretch and warp before snapping back into place as the ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The view screen revealed a desolate sector of space, far from any known trade routes or inhabited worlds. It was a graveyard of broken ships and derelict stations, the remnants of long-forgotten battles, scattered like ashes in the wind. "Captain, I'm detecting a large structure in the center of the debris field," Zara said, her fingers dancing over the console. "It's heavily shielded, and there are multiple energy signatures coming from within." Will studied the display, his brow furrowed in thought. "That must be our target. General Kolar wouldn't send us here without a reason. What can you tell me about those energy signatures?" They're fluctuating wildly, Zara replied. It's hard to get a clear reading, but they don't match any known technology. Whatever it is, it's not Iridian, and it's not Rylorian either. Will nodded, his mind racing. The Rylorians were testing them. That much was clear. This mission was a proving ground, a way for the Rylorians to see if the Blackstar was truly capable of standing against the Iridian Empire. But there was more to it than that. The structure in the debris field held some kind of secret, something that the Rylorians wanted, but couldn't retrieve themselves. Bring us closer, Will ordered. But keep shields at maximum and weapons on standby. We don't know what we're dealing with here. The Blackstar glided silently through the debris field, its sensors scanning every inch of the area. As they approached the structure, it became clear that it was some kind of ancient station, its hull scarred and pitted by centuries of neglect. It was enormous, dwarfing the Blackstar with its sheer size, and its surface was covered in strange symbols and runes that seemed to pulse with a faint, eerie light. "Captain, I'm picking up a transmission," Zara said, her voice tinged with unease. "It's coming from the station, but it's in a language I've never seen before." "Put it through," Will said, his curiosity piqued. The view screen flickered, and a burst of static filled the bridge. Then, a voice emerged from the noise, speaking in a harsh, guttural tongue that sent a chill down Will's spine. The words were incomprehensible, but there was something primal and menacing in the tone, as if the speaker were issuing a warning or a threat. "What do we know about this sector?" Will asked, turning to Zara. "Not much, sir," she replied. "It's been abandoned for centuries, ever since the collapse of the old empires. This area was once a major battleground, but after the wars ended, it was left to rot. No one's ventured here in a long time. That station is older than it looks," Will mused. "And whatever's inside is still active. We need to find out what it is and why the Rylorians want it." "Sir, I'm detecting a power surge from the station," Commander Ivan interjected, his voice sharp with alarm. "Something's coming online, and it's directed at us." "Evasive maneuvers," Will barked. All hands braced for impact. The Blackstar's engines roared as the ship veered to the side, narrowly avoiding a burst of energy that lanced out from the station. The beam cut through the debris field, vaporizing everything in its path, before dissipating into the void. "Return fire," Will ordered. "Target the source of that energy beam and take it out." The Blackstar's cannons flared to life, unleashing a torrent of energy at the station. The beam struck the structure's shields, which flickered and crackled under the onslaught but held firm. "Shields are holding, but barely," Ivan reported. "That station's defenses are stronger than we anticipated. We need to disable those shields," Will said, his mind racing. "Zara, scan for any weak points. There has to be something we can exploit." Zara's fingers flew over the console as she scanned the station's defenses. "I'm detecting a fluctuation in the energy grid near the lower section of the station. It's a small window, but if we time it right, we might be able to slip through." "Good work," Will said. "Ivan, target that section and prepare for a focused strike. We're going to punch through those shields and get inside." The Blackstar repositioned itself, its cannons aimed at the weak point in the station's defenses. With a tense nod from Will, Ivan fired, sending a concentrated blast of energy at the target. The station's shields flickered and then collapsed in a cascade of sparks, leaving the structure vulnerable. "Shields down," Zara announced, her voice filled with excitement. "We've got a clear shot at the station's interior." "Prepare a boarding party," Will ordered. "We're going in." As the crew scrambled to assemble the boarding team, Will turned to Ivan. "You have the bridge. Keep the Blackstar ready for immediate extraction. We don't know what we'll find in there." "Aye, Captain," Ivan replied, his expression grim. "We'll be ready." With that, Will made his way to the shuttle bay, where the boarding party was already suited up and waiting. Zara joined him, her expression determined as she adjusted her gear. This could be a trap, she said quietly as they boarded the shuttle. Could be, Will agreed. But we don't have a choice. If we want the Rylordians as allies, we need to prove ourselves. And that means finding out what's inside that station. The shuttle launched from the Blackstar, weaving its way through the debris field as it approached the gaping maw of the ancient station. The structure loomed before them, its surface covered in the strange, glowing symbols that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. As they neared the entrance, the shuttle's lights illuminated the darkened interior, revealing a labyrinth of twisted metal and flickering lights. The airlock hissed as the shuttle docked with the station, and the boarding party prepared to disembark. "Stay sharp," Will said as he stepped onto the station's cold, metallic floor. The eerie silence of the station was broken only by the distant hum of machinery, and the oppressive atmosphere pressed down on them like a physical weight. The team moved cautiously through the corridors, their weapons at the ready. The walls were lined with more of the strange symbols, their glow casting an unsettling light on the surroundings. The deeper they went, the more oppressive the atmosphere became, as if the station itself were alive and watching them. "Captain, I'm picking up something," Zara whispered, her voice barely audible. "It's faint, but there's a signal coming from deeper within the station. It's not like anything I've seen before." "Let's check it out," Will said, his voice tense. "Whatever it is, it's the key to this place." The team pressed on, following the signal deeper into the station. The corridors twisted and turned, leading them ever closer to the heart of the structure. Finally, they reached a massive chamber, its walls covered in the glowing runes that pulsed with a strange energy. In the center of the chamber stood a massive ancient machine, its surface covered in the same runes that adorned the walls. The machine hummed with a low, ominous energy, and the air around it seemed to crackle with power. "What is this?" Zara breathed, her eyes wide with awe and fear. "It's a relic," Will said, his voice filled with a mix of wonder and dread. "An artifact from a civilization long gone. And it's still active." "Captain, we're detecting a massive energy buildup in the machine," one of the team members shouted, his voice filled with alarm. "It's going to blow." "Fall back," Will ordered. "We need to get out of here." But before they could move, the machine flared to life, and the chamber was flooded with blinding light. The air crackled with energy, and the ground shook as the machine unleashed its power. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as the energy surged through the station, resonating with the ancient runes and activating something deep within the structure. Then, with a deafening roar, the energy burst forth, sending shockwaves through the station and out into space. The boarding party was thrown off their feet as the chamber shook violently, the walls cracking and splintering under the force of the blast. Will struggled to his feet, his vision swimming as he tried to make sense of what was happening. "We need to get out of here now," he shouted, his voice barely audible over the roar of the machine. The team scrambled to their feet, racing back through the corridors as the station began to collapse around them. The walls buckled and groaned, and debris rained down from above as the ancient structure began to tear itself apart. Will pushed himself forward, his heart pounding in his chest as he led the team back to the shuttle. The station's collapse was accelerating, and the corridors were quickly becoming a maze of rubble and destruction. Finally, they'd reached the shuttle, and the team piled inside, their breaths coming in ragged gasps. Will slammed his hand on the controls, and the shuttle rocketed out of the station, narrowly avoiding a collapsing wall as it sped back towards the Blackstar. "Get us out of here," Will shouted as they docked with the ship. The Blackstar's engines roared to life as the ship shot away from the disintegrating station, racing to escape the blast radius. Behind them, the station imploded in a blaze of light and energy, the shockwave rippling through the debris field and scattering the remnants of ancient battles to the wind. As the Blackstar sped away, Will slumped back in his seat, his mind reeling from the events of the past few moments. The station was gone, and with it, the secrets of the ancient machine. But whatever the machine had been, it had unleashed something powerful and dangerous, that was now loose in the galaxy. "What now, Captain?" Zara asked, her voice shaky. Will stared out at the stars, his expression grim. "Now we find out what that machine was, and what it's unleashed, and we prepare for the fight of our lives." As the Blackstar sailed into the depths of space, the crew knew that their mission had just begun. The ancient machine's power had been awakened, and the consequences of its activation would ripple across the galaxy, drawing the attention of powers both ancient and new. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and the Blackstar would be at the center of the storm. Rained down from above as the ancient structure began to tear itself apart. Will pushed himself forward, his heart pounding in his chest as he led the team back to the shuttle. The station's collapse was accelerating, and the corridors were quickly becoming a maze of rubble and destruction. Finally, they reached the shuttle, and the team piled inside, their breaths coming in ragged gasps. Will slammed his hand on the controls, and the shuttle rocketed out of the station, narrowly avoiding a collapsing wall as it sped back towards the Blackstar. "Get us out of here," Will shouted as they docked with the ship. The Blackstar's engines roared to life as the ship shot away from the disintegrating station, racing to escape the blast radius. Behind them, the station imploded in a blaze of light and energy, the shockwave rippling through the debris field and scattering the remnants of ancient battles to the wind. As the Blackstar sped away, Will slumped back in his seat, his mind reeling from the events of the past few moments. The station was gone, and with it, the secrets of the ancient machine. But whatever the machine had been, it had unleashed something powerful and dangerous, that was now loose in the galaxy. "What now, Captain?" Zara asked, her voice shaky. Will stared out at the stars, his expression grim. "Now we find out what that machine was, and what it's unleashed, and we prepare for the fight of our lives." As the Blackstar sailed into the depths of space, the crew knew that their mission had just begun. The ancient machine's power had been awakened, and the consequences of its activation would ripple across the galaxy, drawing the attention of powers both ancient and new. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and the Blackstar would be at the center of the storm. General Draven shook his head. "Our intelligence confirms it. The Blackstar is a secret supercarrier. It's equipped with advanced technology and weaponry that could pose a significant threat to us." Varys' interest was piqued. His arrogance had always made him dismissive of humanity's capabilities, but now he was forced to reconsider. "Prepare our fleet for a potential confrontation. We will not allow this ship to disrupt our plans. Mobilize all available forces and prepare for battle." Back on the U.S. Blackstar, Captain William Jones stood on the bridge, his gaze fixed on the stars beyond. The crew had completed their preparations, and the ship was ready for its maiden voyage. William knew that the journey ahead would be fraught with peril, but he had faith in his crew and their mission. "All hands, prepare for departure," William ordered. The ship's engines roared to life, and the Blackstar began its journey into the unknown. The stakes were high, and the fate of countless lives rested on their shoulders. As the Blackstar left Earth's orbit, the crew's resolve was tested by the vastness of space and the gravity of their mission. They were no longer just defenders of Earth. They were now warriors in a galactic struggle for freedom. The Blackstar's sensors scanned the void for any signs of the Iridian threat, and the crew braced themselves for the challenges ahead. The journey was just beginning, and the Blackstar's crew knew that their fight against the Iridian Empire would be long and arduous. But with the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance, they were determined to rise to the occasion and prove that humanity was not to be underestimated. The crew of the Blackstar was still reeling from the harrowing escape, but there was little time to rest. The shockwaves of the ancient machine's activation had sent ripples through space, ripples that were sure to attract attention, both friend and foe. Back on the bridge, Captain Will Jones convened a meeting with his senior officers. The dim lights of the command center cast long shadows as they gathered around the holographic display, which was flickering with the chaotic energy signature still radiating from the site of the station's destruction. "Status report," Will said, his tone clipped. He leaned over the display, his eyes scanning the data. "Shields held up during the escape, but they're down to 50%, Commander Ivan reported, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "We've also sustained minor damage to the hull, nothing that our repair drones can't handle." "And the energy readings?" Will asked, turning to Zara. Zara's face was pale, her usual confident demeanor shaken. "Captain, the energy readings from that machine were off the charts. Whatever it unleashed, it's spreading through the surrounding sectors. I'm picking up distortions in space-time and fluctuations in gravitational fields. It's like the very fabric of space is being twisted." Will absorbed the information, his mind racing. The machine's activation had unleashed something far more powerful than they had anticipated. But what was it? A weapon? A signal? Or something even more dangerous? Could it be a beacon? Will mused aloud. A call to something, or someone. Zara hesitated before answering. "It's possible, Captain. The energy patterns are unlike anything we've ever seen. It could be a signal, or it could be something else entirely. But whatever it is, it's not natural. It's artificial, and it's spreading." Will nodded grimly. "Then we need to find out what it's calling, and we need to do it fast, before whatever's out there finds us." The tension in the room was thick, each officer aware that they were facing a threat unlike any they had encountered before. But there was no turning back now. They had activated the machine, and now they had to deal with the consequences. "Plot a course to the nearest Rylorian outpost," Will ordered. "We need to report this to General Kohler. Maybe the Rylorians know something about this machine that we don't." As the crew moved to carry out his orders, Will stood by the view screen, staring out into the vastness of space. The unknown weighed heavily on his mind, but he knew they couldn't afford to falter. Whatever they had unleashed, it was now their responsibility to stop it. The Blackstar jumped to faster-than-light travel, the stars streaking past as they hurtled toward the Rylorian outpost. But even as they sped away from the site of the station's destruction, the energy readings continued to spike, and Zara's data showed the distortions spreading like ripples in a pond. Hours later, the ship dropped out of FTL near the Rylorian outpost, a small station orbiting a gas giant on the edge of Rylorian space. The outpost was heavily fortified, its defenses bristling with weapons, a testament to the Rylorians' vigilance in this hostile region. "This is Captain William Jones of the Blackstar, requesting immediate contact with General Kohler," Will said, his voice firm as he hailed the outpost. "We have critical information regarding the mission you assigned us." There was a pause, then the view screen flickered to life, revealing the stern face of General Kohler. His eyes were sharp, and there was no hint of surprise in his expression, as if he had been expecting this call. "Captain Jones," Kohler said, his voice cold and commanding, "I trust your mission was successful." Will met the general's gaze with equal intensity. "The mission was completed, but we've encountered a situation that demands immediate attention. The station we were sent to investigate contained an ancient machine. We activated it, and it unleashed a powerful energy that's now spreading through the surrounding sectors. We need to know what that machine was and what it's doing." Kohler's expression darkened, and for the first time, a hint of concern flickered in his eyes. "So, it has begun." "What has begun?" Will pressed, his patience wearing thin. "What aren't you telling us, General?" Kohler took a deep breath, his gaze hardening. "The machine you encountered is known as the Catalyst. It is a relic of an ancient civilization, one that predates both the Rylorians and the Iridians by millennia. The Catalyst was designed to tap into the very fabric of the universe, to harness the energy of creation itself. But it was abandoned, sealed away after its creators realized the terrible consequences of its power." Will's blood ran cold. "What consequences?" "The Catalyst was designed to amplify energy," Kohler explained. "But in doing so, it also disrupts the balance of space-time. It can create rifts, anomalies, and even summon entities from beyond our understanding. The ancient civilization that built it realized too late that they had created a weapon that could destroy not just worlds, but entire dimensions. They sealed it away, hoping it would never be found. But now it's been activated, Will said, his voice grim. And we're seeing the effects already. The distortions, the energy surges. What happens next? Calder's expression was grave. The catalyst is a beacon. It's calling out across the cosmos, and those who hear its call will come. Some will seek to control it, to wield its power for their own ends. Others will seek to destroy it before it can do more harm. But there are also those who were waiting for this moment, ancient beings that exist beyond our understanding. They will come, and when they do, the galaxy will be plunged into chaos. The weight of Calder's words settled over the bridge like a shroud. The crew exchanged uneasy glances, the magnitude of the situation sinking in. They had unleashed something far greater than they had imagined, something that could change the fate of the galaxy. What do we do now? Will asked, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside him. You must find the catalyst and deactivate it, Calder said firmly, before it is too late. But be warned, Captain, you will not be the only one searching for it. The Iridians, the Rylorians, and others, both known and unknown, will converge on the catalyst, and when they do, the galaxy will burn. Will nodded, his resolve hardening. We'll do whatever it takes to stop this, General, but we'll need your help. Calder's expression softened slightly, and he gave a curt nod. I will provide what support I can, but the fate of the galaxy now rests in your hands, Captain. May the stars guide you. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in heavy silence. Will turned to his crew, his expression determined. You heard the General. We have a new mission. Find the catalyst and stop it before it's too late. We'll need to be faster, smarter, and more prepared than ever before. The crew nodded, their expressions a mix of fear and determination. The stakes had never been higher, and the path ahead was fraught with danger. But they were the crew of the Blackstar, and they would face whatever came their way, together. As the ship powered up and prepared to jump to its next destination, Will stared out into the vastness of space, his mind focused on the task ahead. The catalyst had been unleashed, and the galaxy was on the brink of chaos. But he knew that as long as there was a chance, no matter how slim, they would fight to save it. The Blackstar jumped to faster-than-light travel once more, racing against time and destiny to confront the forces that had been set in motion. The battle for the galaxy had begun, and the crew of the Blackstar was ready to face it head-on. The Blackstar hurtled through space, leaving behind a Rylorian outpost and the uneasy truths revealed by General Calder. The tension among the crew was palpable as they prepared for what lay ahead. They had faced impossible odds before, but this mission felt different. The stakes were higher, the danger more profound. In the ship's war room, Captain Will Jones and his senior officers were gathered once again, poring over star charts and ancient data streams. Zara was at the central console, her fingers flying over the controls as she analyzed the energy patterns emanating from the catalyst. The holographic display projected a swirling mass of data, showing the spreading distortions in space-time. Based on the energy readings, the catalyst signal is originating from this sector, Zara said, pointing to a region of space on the display. But it's not stationary. The energy surges are causing it to shift position, almost like it's alive. Alive? Commander Ivan repeated, his brow furrowing. You mean the catalyst is moving on its own? Zara nodded, her expression tense. It's more than that. The energy patterns suggest that the catalyst is drawing power from the distortions it's creating, almost as if it's feeding on the chaos it's causing. The more it disrupts space-time, the stronger it becomes. Will clenched his jaw, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. Then we need to find it before it grows too powerful to stop. Any idea where it might be heading? Zara hesitated, her eyes narrowing as she focused on the data. It's hard to pinpoint, but there's a pattern here. The catalyst's energy is fluctuating in a way that suggests it's being drawn to something, or someone. It's like it's following a trail, a beacon of its own. A beacon? Will asked, his mind racing. Could it be responding to another signal, maybe another ancient device? It's possible, Zara replied. There are legends of other artifacts like the catalyst scattered across the galaxy, relics of the same ancient civilization. If one of those artifacts is active, it could be calling to the catalyst, drawing it closer. Will's gaze hardened as he processed the implications. We need to track down that signal and intercept the catalyst before it reaches its destination. If it's heading toward another ancient device, who knows what kind of power it could unleash. We're running out of time, Captain, Ivan added, his voice grim. The longer we wait, the stronger the catalyst becomes, and if the Iridians or any other hostile force gets their hands on it, the entire galaxy could be at risk. Will nodded, the urgency of the situation spurring him into action. Then let's move. Zara, narrow down the possible locations for the signal. Ivan, prepare the ship for combat. We're likely to face resistance when we get there. And get in touch with our allies. If there's ever a time we'll need backup, it's now. As his officers sprang into action, Will turned his attention back to the star charts. The galaxy was vast, and the catalyst could be anywhere. But he knew they couldn't afford to fail. The fate of countless worlds rested on their shoulders. Hours passed as the Blackstar raced through space, the crew working tirelessly to track the elusive signal. Tensions ran high, but there was a shared determination among them. They had faced impossible odds before, and they would do so again if it meant stopping the catalyst. Finally, Zora's console beeped, and she looked up with a mixture of excitement and dread. Captain, I've got it. The signal is coming from a planet in the Cerulean Nebula, deep within uncharted space. The catalyst is heading straight for it. Will's heart pounded as he took in the information. The Cerulean Nebula was a dangerous region, filled with unpredictable energy storms and gravitational anomalies. Navigating it would be treacherous, but they had no choice. Set a course for the Cerulean Nebula, Will ordered, and prepare for the worst. We're heading into uncharted territory, and we don't know what we'll find there. The Blackstar's engines roared to life as it changed course, the ship plunging into the swirling mists of the nebula. The crew braced themselves as the ship was buffeted by intense energy currents, the hull groaning under the strain. As they neared the source of the signal, the nebula's mists parted to reveal a dark, foreboding planet, its surface crackling with energy. The catalyst's energy signature was strong, pulsing like a heartbeat that resonated through the ship. There it is, Zara said, her voice barely above a whisper. The catalyst is on the planet's surface, and it's getting stronger. Will stared at the ominous world below, a sense of dread creeping over him. We need to land and shut it down before it's too late. Ivan, take us in, but keep the shields at maximum. We don't know what kind of defenses this place might have. As the Blackstar descended toward the planet, the ship was rocked by powerful energy waves, the ground below glowing with an eerie light. The crew's nerves were stretched to the breaking point, but they remained focused on their mission. The ship touched down on the planet's surface, the landing gear sinking into the dark, rocky ground. The air outside was thick with static, and the sky above churned with storm clouds, illuminated by flashes of lightning. Will, Zara, Ivan, and a team of heavily armed Marines disembarked, their faces set with determination. The catalyst's energy pulsed through the air, almost as if it was alive, watching them. As they made their way toward the source of the energy, the ground trembled beneath their feet, and the wind howled with unnatural fury. The path ahead was treacherous, but they pressed on, knowing that the fate of the galaxy depended on their success. Finally, they'd reached the epicenter, a massive ancient structure buried deep within the planet's crust. The catalyst was at the heart of it, a towering machine that pulsed with otherworldly power, its surface etched with symbols from a forgotten age. We need to shut it down, Will said, his voice resolute. Zara, see if you can find a way to disable it. Ivan, cover her and be ready for anything. Zara nodded, her hands trembling as she approached the machine. The air was thick with energy, and she could feel the power of the catalyst thrumming through her very being. As she studied the ancient symbols, she realized that deactivating the machine would not be easy. It was a complex device, far beyond their understanding, but she knew they had to try. In it, suddenly, the ground shook violently, and a massive rift opened in the sky above, revealing a swirling vortex of energy. From the rift, dark shapes began to emerge, entities from beyond the stars, drawn to the catalyst's power. Captain, we've got company, Ivan shouted, raising his weapon as the first of the entities descended upon them. The Marines opened fire, their weapons blazing as they fought to hold back the onslaught. The entities were unlike anything they had ever seen. Shifting, amorphous shapes that defied logic, their very presence warping reality around them. We need more time, Zara cried out as she worked frantically to decode the ancient symbols. The catalyst power was growing by the second, and she knew that if they didn't shut it down soon, the rift would expand, unleashing untold horrors upon the galaxy. Will joined the fight, his pulse rifle blazing as he took down one of the entities, its form dissolving into dark energy as it fell. But for every one they destroyed, more emerged from the rift, their numbers seemingly endless. The battle raged on, the crew of the Blackstar fighting with everything they had. But as the minutes ticked by, it became clear that they were being overwhelmed. The catalyst's power was too great, and the entities too numerous. Just when all seemed lost, Zara's eyes lit up with realization. I've got it, she shouted, her fingers flying over the controls. I found a way to deactivate the catalyst, but it's risky. It'll cause a massive energy surge, enough to destroy the entire structure and everything. Do it, Will ordered without hesitation. We don't have any other choice. Zara nodded, her hand steady as she initiated the sequence. The catalyst's energy surged, and the entire structure began to tremble, the walls cracking as the power within reached critical levels. Everyone, fall back to the ship, Will shouted as the ground began to heave and crack beneath them. The crew and Marines retreated, fighting off the entities as they made their way back to the Blackstar. The ground was shaking violently now, and the sky was filled with blinding light as the rift expanded, threatening to consume everything in its path. Just as they reached the ship, the catalyst detonated, unleashing a massive shockwave of energy that rippled through the planet, shattering the ancient structure and sealing the rift. The entities were torn apart by the blast, their forms disintegrating into nothingness. The Blackstar's engines roared to life as the ship lifted off, the ground beneath it collapsing into a chasm. The crew watched in awe and relief as the planet's surface imploded, the catalyst's power finally extinguished. As the ship ascended into the safety of space, the crew let out a collective breath they hadn't realized they were holding. They had done it. They had stopped the catalyst and saved the galaxy from unimaginable destruction. But as they set course for home, Will couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The catalyst had been one piece of a much larger puzzle, and the secrets of the ancient civilization that had created it were still out there, waiting to be uncovered. For now, though, they had won. And as the Blackstar sped through the stars, the crew knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, united by their courage and determination. The galaxy was safe, for now. But the story of the Blackstar and its crew was far from over. The Blackstar glided through the calm of space, the crew exhausted but triumphant. The weight of their recent victory lingered, but so did the somber realization of what they had narrowly averted. The ship was now a sanctuary of quiet, a stark contrast to the chaos they had just survived. In the observation deck, Captain Will Jones stood alone, gazing out at the vast expanse of stars. The serene beauty of the cosmos felt like a stark reminder of the fragile peace they had fought to preserve. His thoughts drifted to the catalyst, the ancient device that had nearly torn apart the fabric of space-time itself. The echoes of its power still seemed to hum in the back of his mind, a constant reminder of the dangers lurking in the unknown corners of the galaxy. The door to the observation deck slid open, and Zara quietly joined him, her presence a comforting anchor in the void. She stood beside him in silence for a moment, taking in the same stars that had seen their battle and their victory. "We did it," Zara finally said, her voice soft but filled with a quiet strength. Will nodded, his gaze still fixed on the stars. "We did, but it was close, too close. The catalyst was just one of many threats out there. We may have won this battle, but the war, it feels like it's only just beginning." Zara turned to face him, her eyes filled with the same determination that had driven her through the darkest moments of their mission. "We'll be ready for whatever comes next, Captain. We've proven that we can face the impossible and come out on top. No matter what else is out there, we'll meet it head-on." Will finally looked at her, a small smile tugging at the corner of his lips. "You're right. We've faced the unknown and survived. We've faced what no one else could, and we're still standing. Together, we can handle anything." They stood there for a while longer, side by side, watching as the Blackstar cut through the vastness of space, leaving the now-dead world and its terrible secrets behind. The galaxy stretched out before them, filled with infinite possibilities and dangers alike. But they were not alone. They had each other, a crew bound by courage, resilience, and an unbreakable will to protect their home. No matter what awaited them in the far reaches of space, they would face it together. As the Blackstar continued its journey through the stars, Captain Will Jones felt a renewed sense of purpose. The galaxy might be filled with ancient threats and unknown terrors, but it was also a place of wonder, discovery, and hope. And as long as they had that, they had something worth fighting for. "Let's head back," Will finally said, turning to leave the observation deck. Zara followed him, a resolute determination in her step. The ship's engines hummed with a steady rhythm, propelling them onward, back toward the safety of known space and the promise of new adventures. The catalyst was behind them, but the story of the Blackstar and its crew was far from over. As they prepared to face whatever came next, one thing was certain: they would continue to fight, to explore, and to protect. For they were the guardians of humanity, and the galaxy was their home.